The Chinese AI revolution is just getting started and things are getting insane. Last Friday, Deepseek released their R1 version of their AI model, which competes directly with OpenAI's O1 at 95% the cost. It quickly became the #1 app on the App Store and drew millions of people to their app overnight. Monday morning, the markets opened to absolute panic, with over $1 trillion being wiped out of the stock market, with Nvidia dropping almost 20% and becoming the biggest stock market loss in history. I'm gonna walk you through this entire story, what it means for the AI world, and what it means for you. Let's jump right into this video. All right, so I put a thread out on this on X, so definitely follow me there if you want this info as quickly as possible. That's at Mark Gadala on X. Also, if you like this kind of content, you want to learn about AI, you want to stay on top of this world with in-depth videos like this, definitely subscribe to the channel. I do constant updates on this where I go deep diving on this subject. So this is the thread I put out, so we're just going to walk through this. So I actually put out a thread and a video on this a few days ago, so go check that out if you haven't seen it already. But the highlights are basically this model that came out on Friday was supposedly trained on only 2,000 GPUs. So basically like Meta and OpenAI, they're training on like 200,000 GPUs, 100,000 GPUs. So the idea that this model that's as good as OpenAI was trained on only 2,000 GPUs is an absolutely insane proposition. Not only was it trained on 2,000 GPUs, supposedly it was also trained on older GPUs. So they were using older GPUs, not their brand new models. So it's kind of crazy to think that they're using old GPUs and only 2,000 of them to create this model. It was also supposedly a side project for a quant firm in China. They have less than 200 employees and spent around $5 million to train this model. Considering ChatGPT has literally spent and raised billions, it's a little bit eyebrow raising to say the least. And then the model is as good or better than anything ChatGPT or any other AI company has available right now at 95% cheaper. So this is a big deal. What happened in the world of AI on Friday was a massive, massive deal. I don't know if a lot of people picked that up at the time. Again, I put a video on that, so go check that out. But this is a big deal. And it was open source on top of all of that. So over the weekend, this app went absolutely nuts and became the #1 app on the App Store. Okay, that's a big, big deal. Beating, of course, the one and only ChatGPT. So it jumped over ChatGPT to become not only the #1 AI app in the world, but the #1 app in the world. So this was massive, okay? And then, so what happened this morning on Monday morning, so I was expecting this to be a bigger deal over the weekend. A lot of people were talking about it. It was gaining a lot of steam and momentum. But this morning, I was not predicting what was going to happen, and the market just absolutely tanked. The stock market itself tanked over $1 trillion, and Nvidia dropped almost 20%. Okay, this was the biggest wipeout in stock market history. This Nvidia loss was the biggest stock loss in history. This was the most that was wiped from one stock in history. They lost almost $500 billion in one day. That's a lot of money for one company to go down. $500 billion in one day. Very, very, very massive news. Now, how is it possible for this tiny company out of China to create such a massive breakthrough, right? This is what everybody wants to know. What are they doing so different that allowed them to create this model with so little money? So they're claiming that they have this new insanely efficient reinforcement learning model that allows them to train the AI very easily by giving it prompts and having it reinforce those. So basically like asking it complex math questions and, other types of complex questions. And then sort of when it's giving you an answer, sort of continuing to prod it and get this reinforcement learning. To be honest, I don't know exactly how it's doing this, but that's what they're claiming in this big white paper they put out. So that's really interesting. But here's where things get really, really interesting, right? It turns out that basically no one in the AI industry believes them. So Elon Musk came out himself and basically stated that he thinks it's obvious that they have more GPUs than they claimed and that they're using a lot more GPUs. So nobody believes them, essentially, in the world of AI, that they did this with only 2,000 outdated GPUs, right? So what Elon Musk and Alexander Wang are basically saying that they have about 50,000 GPUs, right? Not 2,000, 50,000 GPUs. And these are A100s, which are the brand newest, best GPUs that NVIDIA has right now. So people basically don't believe what they're saying, right? So that's kind of a big deal. So the CEO of Scale AI, this guy, Alexander Wang, came out basically in this video that I'm going to show you right now. And he basically says in this video, hey, they have 50,000 GPUs, even though they're not saying it. And the reason they're hiding this is because technically they're not supposed to have this many GPUs because there are restrictions on exports. So let's watch this together.
The Chinese labs, they have more H100s than people think.
And these are the highest powered NVIDIA chips that they were not supposed to have.
Yes. My understanding is that Deepseek has about 50,000 H100s. which they can't talk about, obviously, because it is against the export controls that the United States has put in place. And I think it is true that, I think they have more chips than other people expect, but also on a go-forward basis, they are going to be limited by the chip controls and the export controls that we have in place.
Okay, so why this is such a big deal? If they are lying about this, right, and they're basically claiming to have only 2,000 chips, and they train this on 2,000 chips, but they really have access to 50,000 chips. That's a very, very big deal. It's a pretty big lie, because apparently this reinforcement model, if they really have this many chips and they're lying about how they train this model, would be a big, big lie, because it would basically, it's shaking the foundation of the AI world to think that they were able to train this model with only 2,000 old GPUs. So if they have 50,000 of the brand newest, best GPUs, then that's a really big deal. Now, I'm just going to pull up the calculator here and I'm going to show you some math. So each of these GPUs, the H100s, are about $25,000. Okay, so let's do 25,000 times 50,000, which is what they claim to have right now. We're talking about $1.2 billion in GPUs. So this whole lie that they only had about, because the older GPUs, like, so let's say they had 2,000 of the other GPUs, that would only be about $50 million, okay? So the difference between 50 million and 1.2 billion in compute power is a big, big difference, and it's a pretty big lie if it's not true, right? So the fact that Elon Musk and Alexander Wang, guys that are really big in this world, are basically saying, yeah, they have 50,000 chips. So they're basically lying about this, is a pretty big deal, okay? Now, the question then becomes, why is this bad for NVIDIA, right? Why would having a model that's more efficient be bad for NVIDIA? So the argument would naturally be, oh, if you can train these models with less GPUs, then why does the world need so many GPUs? Why is NVIDIA such an overvalued company? Now, NVIDIA released a statement on this, and basically what they said in this statement is that, let me pull up that statement here. So they said, Deepseek is an excellent AI advancement and a perfect example of test time scaling. Deepseek's work illustrates how new models can be created using that technique, leveraging widely available models and compute that is fully export control compliant. Inference requires significant numbers of NVIDIA GPUs and high performance networking. Now, this is the magic sentence here, okay? Now we have 3 scaling laws: pre-training, post-training, which continue, and new test time scaling. So NVIDIA sort of in a nice way is complimenting them here and saying, hey, you guys did a great job. You're still gonna need our GPUs. You're gonna need a significant number of our GPUs for this inference. So inference is basically using the GPUs to run the models, not just training the models, right? And that's what people are not understanding here when it comes to this NVIDIA dip. So NVIDIA crashes in price, and I guess the people that are investing don't really understand that most of the GPUs are not going just to train the models, they're going to actually run the models also, right? So when ChatGPT gives this, amazing AI technology to millions of users, they're able to do that because they have all these GPUs, right? So they're not just training them using these GPUs, they're actually running the models on the GPUs. So this is a really, really big deal and a big oversight today, so which is kind of funny why it crashed so much, right? So now let's go back, because this is going to get even crazier. So that's basically what happened, right? Now, here's what I think the craziest part of all this. Now, people are trying to figure out what this Deepseek company, where they came from, what this is all about, because it came basically out of nowhere. So this sell-off is basically based around a self-reporting of a Chinese company, okay? Now, nothing against the Chinese people, but data out of China tends to be skewed in their favor, okay? Whether that's the Chinese government, Chinese companies, doesn't matter. You should always have a skeptical look. And I'm not only saying Chinese companies, obviously US companies can lie too and make up numbers, but here's where this gets really interesting, right? This is self-reporting out of a Chinese company that's claiming to be training these cutting-edge AI models on a crazy low budget. Most people in the industry don't believe this. So why lie about it? Because Deepseek is actually owned by a quant fund that makes their money from trading. So a quant fund is basically an investment fund that is trading using like quantitative analysis. So it's doing like really complex trades all the time and making their money like that. So the guy who started this company was actually his name is, I'm going to totally butcher this name, Liang Wenfeng, and he's based in China, and he has this quant fund in China that does trading for a living. So he's made all his money trading, right, with this quant fund that trades. So this is really, really nuts, okay? So they decided to start this AI company, right? And they released Deepseek. And whether they trained it with only 50,000 or they trained it with 2,000, it's still very impressive. Don't get it twisted. It's a big deal. They did some very cool stuff here. So whatever they did was very impressive. But why lie about it, right? Why say you trained it on 2,000 and not on the 50,000 that you obviously own, that everyone knows you own, right? So people are now saying that the potential here is that they were trying to spook the market by lying about training their model with these very low numbers, right? We only spent $5 million and we're using only 2,000 chips. They were lying about that potentially, I'm not accusing them of this, but this is what people are speculating, that they were lying about it to cause a massive dump so they could profit from a short, right? So, and the timing of it is really interesting, right? So they launch this on a Friday, and then Sunday night, the market starts to dump into Monday morning with this crazy crash on Monday morning. So could it be that they opened a short on Friday, right, for NVIDIA and other stocks, but mainly NVIDIA, I would assume, right? Open a short on Friday in NVIDIA. And by the way, the reporting for Chinese quant funds is way different than the reporting for American funds, right? For American companies. So if you're trading in China, you don't have to report the same way you would be if you're trading in the US. So that's a big deal too, right? They don't have to necessarily say what they're shorting, what they're longing. And when you short a company, just so that you know, that's when you're betting that the company's going to go down in value. Okay. So they could have taken a huge bet that NVIDIA is going to go down in value, right, on Friday, released this model, sort of lied about like, hey, we trained it for only $5 million, spooked the entire world of AI, right? All these people that are spending all this money in the AI world, billions and billions of dollars flowing into Microsoft and OpenAI and Grok and, Anthropic and all these companies, right? This huge AI bubble that's happening right now because everyone's so excited, and basically said, hey, all that money's being wasted. We were able to do it for a few million bucks, scared everybody, right? Tanked the market, made tons of money, who knows, billions off that short potentially. And that's how they made a ton of money, right? And I thought this tweet was really good because he basically puts this all together. So Deepseek founder claiming its model costs $6 million, then hypothetically having his quant fund short NVIDIA, which is down 16, actually went down to almost 20%, would be the Soros breaking the British pound for AI aid. This is like one of the most legendary trades ever when he shorted the British pound, but that's a whole different story. So that is what a lot of people are saying. Now, I'm not accusing them of this again. I don't know that that's what they're doing. I just personally think that it's very fishy that a quant fund starts an AI company, right? Does actually some amazing stuff, sort of makes up some crazy numbers about, oh, we did this so cheap, right? Gets all these people to download the app and then could potentially have shorted it because it's a quant fund. Who knows? But I wanted to bring this to you because I thought it was mind-blowing and something that I don't see enough people talking about. So the other crazy thing here is the privacy policy. So if you see here, this is the privacy policy they have on their website. So when you use our services, we may collect your text, audio, input prompts, uploaded files, feedback, chat history, or other content you provide to our models or services. We store this information we collect in our servers in the People's Republic of China. Okay, so I'm not saying that American companies are the best with this kind of privacy stuff, but when you're putting sensitive data and it's going directly offshore to China, I mean, if we had concerns about TikTok, downloading an AI supercomputer on your phone, on your computer, and then running it. I'm not talking about the people that are running this locally. I'm talking about 99% of people who use this model that are either going to the website or downloading the app. There is a major, major privacy concern there. And a lot of people I know are worried about that right now. So just something to keep in mind. So a few last things I just wanted to show you real quick here. They actually had a massive attack today. So right after all this news came out, the market's dumping, everyone's freaking out. They actually had a massive, massive DDoS attack. So somebody tried to take down their website and it worked for a long time. A lot of people weren't able to access the service. So that was really interesting. Our boy Pliny here was able to hack it, which was really cool. So he already liberated it. If you don't know about Pliny, I made a video on him. The man who's hacked every AI system. He did it again immediately. He's already hacked R1. There's rumors going around that Trump is going to sign an executive order to ban DeepSeek. The only reason I would imagine he's doing this, maybe for privacy concerns, right? But if you let TikTok come back, I don't think it's privacy stuff. Maybe it is, but it could be to defend sort of the American position in the AI world, right? So who knows? That's kind of interesting. Meta is absolutely panicking here because Meta has spent millions and millions of dollars to basically create their own open source AI, and then DeepSeek comes out of nowhere and launches this. So again, I'm skeptical of the numbers out of DeepSeek. I think they probably spent over $1 billion as well. But Meta being concerned, I think makes sense here. And the last thing I wanted to show you here, this is not the only major breakthrough from AI coming out of China. So another open source model called Qwen came out recently as well, and it is really, really good. I haven't had the time to fully test this, but I have done some cursory tests here, and it's really, really good. So I wanted to show you this just to show you that there's a lot of breakthroughs coming out of China right now. So it's not just DeepSeek. There's a lot coming out, and I think there's going to be more and more and more. If you go to Polymarket right now, there's so many bets on DeepSeek right now. Which company has the best AI model on June 30th? Will DeepSeek be the #1 model in April? Will DeepSeek be banned in the US? DeepSeek removed from the App Store before March? DeepSeek V4 before May? So a lot of bets on DeepSeek, and a lot of people are really interested in it. So if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more breaking stuff like this, and definitely drop a comment below. I really want to hear what you have to say about this. I love to see your comments, and I respond to every single one.